Today's video, we are taking this closet that you see here, full of junk, full of Pokemon cards, full of clothes, all that fun stuff, and we're going to be putting up a sliding curtain system, a sliding panel system, instead of an actual closet door. The reason why we're going with a sliding panel system is because I just wanted to try something different. I thought it would be a cool look for the closet, and I thought it would also be cheaper than going with traditional closet doors. So at the end, we'll have a brief price comparison between the two to get an idea of, did I actually save money or did I spend more than I should have? These are all of the parts that came with the sliding track blinds. And you can see here at the end, I've also included the tools that you'll need to drill and some drill bits as well. On the sheet of paper, two things to note. First is it does have on one side the wall mount instructions on how to install this product if you wanted to mount it on the outer frame of your opening. The other potential option is what they refer to as a ceiling mount. And that is what I will be doing in the event of this installation. I will be mounting my sliding panels on the top of the closet opening itself, not on the outside. So these will be the instructions that we will be following today. So now before I get started, I'm just going to do a quick fit up to make sure that I took my measurements right to begin with. I'm going to expand this rail out as far as it will go, and you will see that it very snugly fits in there. It has a little bit more room that it could extend out, but I have plenty of coverage for my particular application. So this will be fine. That was step 1B, by the way. Step 2B, of course, here is to be or not to be. That is the question. It's a joke. Shakespeare. Template with holes poked out on either end. We are now going to put said template in the corner. I'm going to be setting my rail on the front part of the top seal. So with my head in the way, as I mark the hole, I'm going to make sure that this is lined up correctly with the outside of the trim to make sure that my track will be traveling straight. And I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mark this hole as well. Quick note, so that you don't lose your mind like I just did, this arrow should point towards the inside of your closet or the inside of your window if you're hanging this in that kind of situation. For the middle, remember we're using that other small template from a mark I made previously. We're just gonna go ahead and mark that hole right there. I did look back through the directions, and one of the things that I noticed was that it did not call out a drill bit size for these screws. I think that probably depends on your application. From looking at these screws, they came with anchors. So if you were trying to install these in wood that maybe did not, or some sort of drywall that did not possibly have a 2x4 supporting behind it, that's where you would want to use these anchors. In my case, I know that I have a wood stud behind this white trim because I put it there. So I'm just going to be using my screws to go directly into it. Lovely drill noises. These little mounting brackets that you're going to be installing. If you had to use these anchors, you would put the anchor in first, then you would put your mount in as so with these little overhangs hanging down, and then you would actually install your screw through the bottom of that mounting into the drywall anchor or the anchor itself. Installing it as the picture shows, you want that little clip to be out in front. This part, super tricky. I've had to read this a couple of times to try to understand it. They talk about having extra hands. Many hands make light work, but I only have 2. So here we are. What it says, and what the diagram appears to show, is it says install the middle bracket first. So those middle brackets appear to be being turned. Have this correct. We're now going to turn this into the slide, and you can see that it is now attached. So don't be me and leave the tape behind, and then have your bracket there. So if you need to undo these brackets, I did use a knife there. You could probably use a screwdriver. You have great finger strength. Maybe you can use your hands. I don't have very good grip strength. I'm just going to walk up. I'm going to stick the Velcro portion on. You can tell from the sound that it's very Velcro-y, right? A lot of clinging there. I am going to pull this tight, make sure that it is all the way to the floor and flat, And then I'm going to make some measurements and mark this to make sure that it actually is floor length. And then once that happens, we should be good to go. Okay, so you can see here you have the nice smooth front. On the back, I've already done 2 screws. I started at one end and worked my way down. But what you'll do is you'll just make sure that the insert is in here, and the larger piece, you'll make sure that your curtain has a nice good fit and that the right length is inserted into the hole. And you'll take one of these screws, which are very small, especially in my larger hands. I like to think I have large hands. And then you'll just tighten it up. I also noticed that having that portion on the bottom helps it hang flat. So that's definitely a nice perk. I believe that a lot of that swaying will stop once I have the other 3 curtains attached. Yeah, I started out measuring everything from the ceiling down, drawing my lines, making my marks, doing all that fun stuff to make sure that I was cutting them to the right length. But what I realized is that because of the pattern of these particular curtains, you can see here that these squares have, I would say, probably about 1/4 of an inch wide slats here. So if you actually just go ahead and you pull the curtain tight to the floor next to one that you've already done, what you can do is you can make a note of which slat that's going to be closest to. So like for this curtain, for example, it might be a little bit hard to see on the screen. I would say that if I were to cut from this, basically the bottom of this slat right here, it would be the same length. So all I'm going to do is trim across at the bottom of these slats on this level, and it should match up very well with the one next to it. So once again, we have the rail system, 2 pieces. We're going to take this larger piece, insert our curtain into it like so. We're going to learn from our mistakes of last time and do this far, far faster. We're going to focus on only keeping one side in. So I'll rotate it over to this side. I'll take this slatted side, put that facing the curtain, sliding that into the connection, and we'll focus only on this far side that's closest to me here. So what we'll need is we'll need our Allen wrenches and we'll need our screws. We'll make sure that everything is nice and flush over here on this side. So we reach across the television screen. Make sure that I'm putting my screws in correctly. This part, once again, is going to be tricky to see because these screws and these holes are so tiny. But we're just going to put that screw in there. We're going to tighten it up any minute now. And once we get this first one in, we'll just continue on down the rail. Our curtains side by side. Looks pretty good. There are little anti-fray clips that it asks you to put near the ends where those will go in contact potentially. Once you have that, you should be good to go. Of course, it comes with 2 wands. So there you have it. Is it better? Is it worse? Well, it's definitely better than what I had there before. I think for the cost, which I'll put some numbers up on the screen for how much everything cost. I think for the cost, it's definitely better than sliding barn doors. But as far as traditional bifold doors go, if your opening can handle that, that might be a better alternative. Some of the things I don't like about having these as closet doors is that when I do have my ceiling fan on in my office, they do sway a little bit, which I'm not crazy about. Sometimes the metal part at the bottom of the sliding curtains will actually clang into each other. Just some ambient noise I don't really like. The other thing that I will point out is I'm used to seeing, say, window blinds that have some sort of like decorative trim that would slip on the outside of this, kind of cover up the bracket that's being used. Other than that, it's definitely better than seeing all of my clothes and all of my junk, right? So for that part, it is a step in the right direction. So hope you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, follow, comments, all that fun YouTube stuff. I'll see you in the next one.